No, you were not raped. No, everything that's mean is not abuse. Here I go saying this controversial stuff again, but I tell you, everything I say is because I deal with clients who are faced with some pretty hefty charges. I think of one man, very good, godly man. Everyone in his circle thinks, what a holy man he is, what a holy family they had. And his wife left after they had 9 children, homeschooling family, even taught marriage classes on occasion together. And when a spouse ends up having an affair and leaving, they often have to rationalize why they left. And when you hear things like, well, you actually raped me for child 3 and child 7. Oh, really? Because if he really raped you for child 3, why the heck didn't you get out of that house? Why did you sleep with him? Because he didn't rape you for child 4, 5, and 6. So clearly 6, 7, 8 years in between, you're voluntarily having sex with your spouse. I don't have to sit here and rationalize this. But I will tell you, I'm bringing this up because it's a common tactic used by women who leave their husbands. Now, I am the first to say many people do get raped. I know them. I've met them, and it is vicious. It is heinous. They'll have to answer to God for it. But when you have to make up excuses for why you're leaving your spouse, and you have to say something that so nastily portrays the other person. I'll tell you, this particular person, no one in his circle believed it. Not the children, not the people they went to church with, not me either. This is a very passive man who is humble. It's just one of many. I'm thinking of one in particular. And it makes men angry because it takes the very essence of marriage, the very thing that men and women love doing together. And yes, usually men love it more than women. But that a woman can so badly degrade her husband and accuse him of that is wrong. And you will have to answer to God for that. The same happens with abuse. So many people come up to me and say, well, so-and-so did this, or they were abused me. And the first thing I'll do is, well, tell me what they did. Well, we were arguing and it got really hot and I tried to push him and then he grabbed my wrists and shoved me into the wall and I fell. So you pushed him first and you started something and he grabbed your wrist. And when I talk to the men, it's usually, I was trying to stop her from hitting me. And you may be listening thinking, well, that's not my case. I don't know everybody's case. But I'm giving you some examples of things I've heard not once, not twice, but at least 10, 15, or 20 times at least. Abuse is about power and control. So is rape, as a matter of fact. I have taught domestic violence classes. I have taught sexual assault, victim intervention classes. I have taught this, sanctioned by the government when I worked for the government. So I know what I'm talking about. Abuse is about power and control, and there's a huge difference between mean and nasty, calling you the F word or calling you horrible names that refer to prostitutes or whatever. That's not abuse. Stonewalling, shutting down is not abuse. Stonewalling is bad. It's actually one of the biggest signs that a marriage is failing, and it shouldn't be done. A man and a wife should talk to each other, but it's not abuse. Can we find elements of like, well, I mean, it was controlling me because I couldn't find out what he or she was thinking. And so let me give you another clue. If you have to ask someone, isn't that abuse? it probably wasn't abuse. If you just clearly said this happened and everyone's like, wow, wow, get out of that house and get safe. But especially us women have come now and started making up these egregious things to rationalize our leaving our spouses. Men do stuff too, but I'm a woman and I'm talking to us women. So again, don't sit here and say, Christine, you don't see the point. Well, you don't see everything that I see. If you have to make things up to validate your leaving, then you might want to question why you're leaving. And I get it. You probably don't even realize that you're doing this. This is what's called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when I can't make my actions match my thoughts. Oh, I think abortion's bad, so I'll never have an abortion. Cognitive dissonance is when, well, I did something I didn't think I'd do, so I'll make my words and my thoughts match my actions. Well, in this case, I had an abortion because I knew that whatever, I'm not going to fill in the blank. Well, I would never have an affair. I can't believe people would have affairs. This is one I've dealt with a lot. I remember in particular a woman whose husband was a preacher. He used to get upset. How can people have affairs? Don't they know? And then he had an affair. So cognitive dissonance is where, well, okay, this is the reason it happened here. This is how it's different. It's always the case. Here's how it's different. I'm saying this in part to defend the men. And yes, again, I know I'll get comments saying, well, in my case, this really happened. I wasn't there. I'm not saying it's not true on occasion, but it's not true many, many times. Give your spouse, even if you loathe them right now, give them the dignity of saying, you know what? I just don't like you. You're a mean and hurtful person. Again, shouting names, calling you horrible things, throwing your faults in your face, saying you're like your dad or your mom. That's not abuse. They're not trying to control where you go, what you do, how you do it. You can abuse without laying a hand on a person. Oh, yeah? I see the odometer on that car. You better only go the 2 miles to the grocery store. I will look at that odometer when I get back. That's control. That's abuse. Didn't even lay a hand on you. But search yourself. Search yourself. Admit your own faults as well. I'm not saying go back to your spouse. There's definitely work that needs to be done. When I left my husband, there was no one that was going to convince me to go back. That was something I had to do on my own, had to talk to God about, had to work through. So I'm not sitting here telling you that. But I'm saying, please, don't accuse your husband of raping you because, well, I was drinking and he knew I was not capable of saying yes or no. Well, wait a minute. Didn't you always say you wanted to have a few drinks first to kind of get you in the mood? Come on. Well, I don't know what else I can add to that. Go ahead and put your controversial comments on my controversial video because it's what I do. All I am is trying to be a truth speaker. I'm trying to fix marriages, trying to save souls. And I want us to all just start really learning to see clearly. I can only search my own heart. You can only search your own. Take it from there. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching an informational Bacon Bit. And as always, remember to live your life sunny side up.